February 1959. Deep in the freezing Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 experienced hikers disappeared under terrifying and unexplained circumstances. Weeks later, rescuers discovered their abandoned tent, sliced open from the inside. Some of the hikers were found barefoot in the snow. Others had massive internal injuries. One theory says they were running from an avalanche. Another says they saw something they were never supposed to see. More than 60 years later, nobody truly knows what happened on Dyatlov Pass. The story begins with a group of young and experienced hikers led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. The team consisted of university students and skilled outdoor adventurers from the Soviet Union. Most of them were highly trained in survival, skiing, and mountain expeditions. Their goal seemed simple: travel across the dangerous northern Ural Mountains and complete a difficult winter hiking route. It was supposed to be another successful expedition, but it became one of the most disturbing mysteries in modern history. The hikers began their journey in late January of 1959. At first, everything went normally. They laughed together, took photographs, wrote in journals, and documented their trip. Some of the real photographs taken during the expedition still exist today, and many people say they feel unsettling knowing these were the final days of the group. As the team moved deeper into the mountains, conditions became brutal. Strong winds, heavy snow, temperatures far below freezing. Still, the hikers continued forward. On February 1st, the group reached the slopes of a mountain known by locals as Dead Mountain. That night, they set up camp on an exposed, snowy hillside. It would be the last night any of them were ever seen alive. Days passed, and the group never returned. At first, nobody panicked. Delays were common during winter expeditions, but eventually families and friends became worried. A search team was organized. Rescuers entered the mountains expecting to find lost hikers. Instead, they found something horrifying. The team's tent was discovered partially buried in snow, but something immediately stood out. The tent had been cut open from the inside. Not only that, the hikers' boots, warm clothing, and supplies were still inside. It looked as if the group had suddenly fled into the freezing darkness in complete panic. Investigators then discovered footprints leading away from the campsite. Some footprints showed signs of bare feet. Others appeared to belong to people wearing only socks. Imagine that for a second. Temperatures were estimated to be below -30 degrees Celsius. No experienced hiker would willingly leave shelter half-dressed in those conditions. Something terrified them enough to run. The first bodies were found near a forest edge under a large cedar tree. 2 hikers lay there without shoes, wearing very little clothing. Nearby were signs of a small fire. It appeared they had desperately tried to survive the freezing night. But things became even stranger. Several more bodies were discovered between the forest and the tent, almost as if they had tried to return to camp, but never made it. Then investigators found the final 4 bodies months later under deep snow in a nearby ravine. These hikers had suffered terrifying injuries. One had a fractured skull. Another had severe chest damage so powerful investigators compared it to a car crash. And perhaps most disturbing of all, some injuries showed massive internal trauma with surprisingly little external damage. One victim was even missing her tongue. Naturally, theories exploded across the Soviet Union. What could possibly force experienced hikers to run into a deadly snowstorm nearly naked? One explanation was an avalanche. According to this theory, the hikers feared snow collapsing onto their tent and escaped quickly. Years later, some experts supported this possibility, but many people still question it. The slope where the tent was found did not fully match typical avalanche conditions. And if it truly was an avalanche, why were footprints still visible? Others believe the group encountered military experiments. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union secretly tested weapons and military technology. Some witnesses in nearby areas reported strange glowing lights in the sky around the same time. This led to theories involving missiles or secret explosions. Another theory involves something called infrasound. Certain wind conditions in mountains can create low-frequency sounds capable of causing panic, anxiety, and psychological distress. Some researchers believe the hikers may have experienced sudden irrational fear and fled their tent in confusion. Then there are the more mysterious theories: aliens, unknown creatures, paranormal forces, even secret government cover-ups. Over the decades, the Dyatlov Pass Incident became one of the internet's most famous unsolved mysteries. Books were written, documentaries were filmed, investigations were reopened, yet no explanation has ever satisfied everyone. In 2020, Russian authorities officially concluded that an avalanche was the most likely cause. But for many people, the mystery remains unsolved. Because no matter how many theories exist, the details still feel deeply disturbing. 9 experienced hikers, a tent cut open from the inside, bare footprints in frozen snow, and a night on Dead Mountain that nobody survived. Even today, the Dyatlov Pass incident continues to fascinate millions of people around the world. Not just because of the deaths, but because of the terrifying question that still remains unanswered. What scared them so badly that they chose the freezing darkness over the safety of their own tent? And maybe the most chilling part of all, whatever happened that night, only the mountain knows the truth.